Facebook. It is Hershey Me, your girl, Miss Jennifer Pink. I am the CEO and lead strategist for Thumbprint Collective. And I am so excited to be hosting this series called Building a Team. Lunch and Learn, right? As business owners, for some reason, we get into this mindset of I'm going to do this whole thing by myself. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who invented it, why they invented it. They should probably be taken out to pasture and shot because it was just like the most horrible thing in the world that anybody ever created, right? Like it's just horrible. But we're going to stop doing that and we're going to actually build a team because when we used to have jobs, we were not the only person there. There were like 4 to 10 people who did exactly what we do, right? And then there were people above us, people below us, people around the corner, people doing things, and we're like, that's a job? They pay you to do that? Right? Like there were all these things. So why are we not using that in our business? Honest truth, because we don't know how. Right? The thought of hiring somebody, the thought of bringing people into this private space that you've created, trusting people with your baby, right? Because we all know our business is our baby. It's scary. Like, I can't do that. So I decided to have on some of my friends in the HR space to really help us, like, figure out how we can build a team. And I thought HR is great. We need to hear from all the HR people. But how about somebody that can help us weed through the resumes? Right? Because we all do it. Like we need to hire somebody. So we ask for resumes, we ask for references, right? Because that's what they do in the job. And then we get them and we're like, now what? Right? Like, how do I really decide if person A is better than person B, or if I should go with person C? Like, how do you weed through all of that? So I said, DeJuana, would you like to come talk about resumes? Because we need some help with this. And DeJuana is the perfect person. So for those of you that don't know, I don't know where she is on your screen, right? That is DeJuana Golden of GoldenTouch Resumes. And she is a beast at creating resumes, at really helping people create something that is truly them, not just a whole bunch of words on a piece of paper that if I asked you, so what does it mean? You're like, I don't know, because I just copied it off of Google, right? She knows how to make these resumes that not only look good, sound good, but actually convert, right? I think the last thing I think I saw you put out there was like somebody got like a $20,000 raise.
Yes.
Right?
Multiple
20,
people have.
that's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good raise. That's a pretty good raise. So, DeJuana, tell them a little bit about who you are and exactly what you do, and then let's get in this conversation.
All right. All right. So, like Jennifer said, I'm the CEO of GoldenTouch Resumes, and we are a full service resume company. We specialize in assisting career professionals of color position themselves as the clear choice in the job market through highly impactful, targeted, and branded resumes, cover letters, and LinkedIn profiles. So, that's what we do.
All right. So, how do you pick a good resume? Like when people send you all these resumes, how do you know? Like, how do you know?
Okay. So, I want to kind of go back into actually planning out what your process will be, your hiring process. One of the things I think we don't do, and I also started out as a solopreneur and then built my team. What we don't do is we don't craft a job description that really encapsulates everything we need in the person. So your job description should be as detailed as possible, meaning that you should have the qualifications, requirements, the educational requirements that you want someone to have. Let them know the responsibilities that they'll be assuming if they take the position. but also give them a glimpse into the company culture. So before we even pick resumes, we need to establish that first, because that's part of the vetting process, is that job description. All right. So that helps you weed out, or allow somebody to kind of go to the next step based on this job description. And it's really how you'll screen the resumes that you receive. Another thing I always say too is, what will your resume review process look like? So you may not be the one to go through all of the resumes. It may not be a good idea if this is not what you're well versed in. So you might have to pull in some people, some business friends or some family members or friends who have a management role or HR experience to help you kind of review the resumes and give their feedback and criteria. You can also create like a report card, right? Or a scoring sheet, and have the different categories that you're looking at. So, have they had previous experience in these responsibilities? Do they meet the minimum qualifications? Do they meet the preferred qualifications? Do they have some secret sauce that you really like? And then let people score based on that. So that gives you the foundation to even go into, how do I pick a good person? Okay. And then once you have that established, then you can start looking at the resumes to see if they match up in terms of skills, those minimum qualifications, preferred qualifications, and so on.
That's interesting that you say that. Like, I never thought to actually like grade the resumes. I'm just gonna be really honest with y'all. Y'all know I'm transparent. So don't judge me. If you send me a resume and it doesn't look crazy and it says the right things, I set you up for an interview. Like, okay, let's talk. Right? Like, that's just, I never even thought, like, maybe I should really read this thing. Right? Like, maybe I should really break this thing down. But I want to back up to, you said writing the job description.
Yes.
Let's be honest, right? A lot of business owners are going to just go to Google, copy a job description that they saw for virtual assistant or operations manager. I mean, that's literally like what people do. How do you craft a job description that matches, yes, the basics of what this job is, but really what you need?
Right. And it's okay to use that as a template, right? So that cuts down on time. Yes, find something that kind of speaks to what you want, but then you want to go through it and say, okay, but what do I need? Like, are there some extra things that I need in this role? Let me include that in the job description. What's my company culture, which we don't often think about as a solopreneur going into building a team, but what do you want the vibe to be like? Okay, well, the language needs to speak to that. And you can really spell it out in the job description. So, yes, you can grab someone else's job description. I see it all the time. Major companies, if you go and look at the same position, it's like the same job description, right? But you want to then infuse those little extra things that you need and your company culture in the job description.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah,
And words have power. Like,
they
I
do.
say this all the time. Like, I used to proudly say that Thumbprint was like a dysfunctional family, a Black dysfunctional family. And I'm realizing I need to reword the word dysfunction, because some
Yes.
people are taking that a little too literal, and
Hmm.
that's not going to work. Right. So I'm now saying, like, we are the Black family reunion, right? Like, when you get together and all the uncles and the cousins and the aunties, and it's so much fun, and everybody has their quirks and whatever, but like, it's this beautiful experience,
Yes.
right? And so, like, that is something like I would definitely include in our job description, because if you are not down for this big extended family, you're probably not gonna like us.
Right. And then they'll self eliminate. So then you don't have to worry about screening that resume, because if it's not a vibe that they gel with, then they won't apply. But if it's something that speaks to them, they'll apply.
Got it. Got it. So what things do you think should be on this scorecard? Right? Like, yes, the minimum qualifications or whatever, but like, in your mind, what are some things that we probably don't include that we should include?
So maybe I'm going to do a position that's a sample, right? So administrative role. Now we have the minimum qualifications, but maybe you're really looking for someone to handle social media, right? A little bit, posting some content. So maybe you want to make that one of your elements to your scorecard. Like, do they have any social media experience? Yes or no? Have they worked for a small boutique company? Yes or no? So you want to, there's certain things that are important to you in terms of their skill set that you can include and really specify on that scorecard.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna write a job description. We're gonna have this scorecard, and then we're gonna have somebody else read the resumes. Cause listen, I ain't doing it. I'm busy. Like, I don't even want to read my kids' report cards. Like, I'm not doing it. So you said friends or business associates who've been in management. Like, is there anything that we should look for in that space? Like,
I mean, really, you're just looking for someone who has some type of reference point in terms of hiring, right?
okay.
They've either read resumes, they've interviewed, that type of thing. They've worked with people, led a team, because then they know some things to look for in a resume that you may not have that experience in. So you don't have to really be super particular, but you do want someone who has some type of foundational knowledge of reviewing
Okay.
candidates.
Okay. So now I've got this person who used to hire for, Nordstrom's. And they're going to look at all the resumes and do the scorecard. And then I have the top 5 people in front of me. Now what?
So you have the top 5 people. Now, remember, I said you need to really know what your process is. So some people, they might have a sample project that they want that person to do. There might be a personality assessment that you want the person to complete, or you might want to move straight into the interview, right? So it's truly whatever your process is, then they will move to that next step. Some people like to do maybe a question and then the person responds via video and sends in the video. So you really have to just plan and strategize beforehand what your process will be, and then they move along that journey. Okay, so if you have these top 5 candidates, if you're comfortable with that number, then you go ahead and move them all to the next step.
Okay. I think that's we started implementing the projects because I started realizing
Me too.
people would say all these things on their resume
Oh, yeah.
and check all these boxes, and then when I asked you to do the most simplest thing, I'm like,
Right.
what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah. So we do the projects too. So they have to complete a project with us for us to see if they're a good fit.
Yeah, and I think that is, I think we sometimes get afraid, right?
Mhm.
Because I know as a small business owner, like, I don't want people to work for free, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I want to be paid for my work and I want to pay other people for their work, right? Like, it's like this whole reciprocity thing. But you kind of need to test the waters,
You do. You
right?
do.
And I think what I have found is something as simple as following the instructions changes the game,
Yes.
right? Like, it's less about the actual assignment and more about, can you follow these instructions?
Yes. And that goes to also like when you're reviewing the resumes, have they really used the best practices, or does their resume look like they've complied with the things you're supposed to do in a resume? So that is a part of the weeding out and vetting process, because if someone is like their resume is missing a career summary, it's missing their education, it's missing key components, then you should already know this is not a good fit, right? Because they're not even doing the minimum with their resume. So will they even do the minimum for you on the job? Probably not. Also, when you're looking at resumes, did they include a cover letter? I know a lot of us, we don't want to send in a cover letter, but a cover letter can make a real difference on whether you get hired or not. And so when someone takes the due diligence to send in a cover letter, like that might be one on the scorecard, right? Did they submit a cover letter? Because they are really detailed. They're doing the extra step. And the cover letter can also help them to explain some things on their resume. So you want to look at all those components when you're reviewing candidates.
Yeah. And I've seen, and I know for us, we've gotten, and these have been the best people that we've worked with. The ones who do, like, I swear it doesn't take more than 5 minutes to figure this out, right? But do a little due diligence on us, and then that's incorporated in what they send us.
Yes.
Like, I'm always like, I mean, like I said, it don't take much to figure out that we are like black as fuck,
Yeah.
unapologetically black. Like, all it doesn't take much because I purposely put it out there a lot. And like some people, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Some of the people that have applied, I'm like, did you read anything? Because
Right.
you should have weeded yourself out because you know you don't match this. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's important.
so you said the basics of a resume. I don't want you to like go into a whole resume because most
Yeah.
people are not building resumes here, but just a little bit about like what are the big basics that we should see on everyone's resume.
So you should, of course, see their contact information. Pay attention to, like we always tell job candidates to not have a vanity email, have something professional. So I mean, that might be something that if they have something that's like, uh, like big booty something, right? And that's their email address. You might be like, well, mm-mm. All right. So then career summary. The next thing is not everyone has this, but they should. A core skills list of what their core skills or areas of expertise are, then professional experience, and then education. Those are the bare minimum content areas someone should have on their resume.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So what do you, let me ask you this. As someone who writes resumes, sees gazillion resumes all the time, what can someone put that'll just pop out?
So I think it's important to always lead with your achievements in a resume. So if you are just putting vague content or basic things that you've handled on the job, that's really not going to grab the attention of the employer. So starting out with your achievements is a great way. Also, like you said, marrying your experience to what the company is looking for to demonstrate that you have that same, belief system, the same skill set that's aligned. And then also, I think what's important is showing your secret sauce. And more so, that might be it could be in your skill set, but also just in your personality and how you approach projects or your job or what's your commitment. So, say, for instance, you're a company, if someone has demonstrated their commitment to the community, they've done volunteer work, maybe they've worked for certain types of companies, that's going to stand out to you because then they're aligned in terms of your philosophy and your mission and your values as a company.
Right. Definitely, definitely. I think those are definitely things that I didn't know I was looking for, but now that you've said them, I'm like, yeah, those are the things that kind of stand out to me, right? Because if you don't shine a light on yourself in this moment when I'm asking you to, I worry that you're going to be able to shine the light for me
Yeah,
when I need you to,
exactly.
right? It's kind of a reciprocity thing type of thing.
Yeah.
So what else would you say to business owners that are going through the process, they're ready to build a team, they're getting resumes from every Tom, Dick, and Harry?
Hmm.
What else would you say to them?
Okay. In the review process of resumes, there's some other steps that I think we should make sure that we take. And so when you're screening, don't just look for someone who's held the same position that you're looking for. So because those titles can be deceiving. So you really want to look into what did they handle? What did they actually do on the job? Because you might uncover that although their title was this, they actually have the experience that you need. Or maybe they don't. It depends on if it's a large company, small company, that makes the titles change. So go beyond the titles. Another thing, I know we do this all the time. We hire family and friends. And so I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it because um, for some people, it works out, right? I'm not going to say don't do it, but you have to take them through the same vetting process. So I'm sorry, your cousin, your sister, your uncle, they have to submit a resume and go through the same process, the same screening process to make sure that they're a good fit, because they need to have those qualifications that we talked about before. So, it's good that you have people in your family that want to work for you, but are they qualified to work for you? So you need to make sure that that's in place. And then that way it takes away any other like personal relationship things, because it's really just being objective. These are the standards. If they want to know why they didn't get hired, hey, I was looking for this, you didn't really have this, and this candidate did. Bottom line, right? So make sure you do that for your family and friends, please. All right. So, and then also one thing we constantly hear, hire for your weaknesses, right? Hire for your weaknesses. Whatever you're not good at, get someone in there who's good at that thing. And while that is the case, you can also hire for your strengths. So you want to consider that too. And what I mean by that is that, for instance, me, I love social media. I love creating graphics. I could stay on Canva all day and have fun and play with colors, I'm saying, hex codes, all of that good stuff, right? Color combinations, font combinations. But is that a good use of my time? Probably not, right? As the CEO, you need to look at higher level roles. So you're supposed to set the strategic vision, you're supposed to plan, you're supposed to do all of these other things. So you don't have the bandwidth to do social media content. So you need to hire for that as much as you love it. I love video editing. Look, I should not be spending my time doing that, right? I need to be going out there and getting the money, right? So I want you to also not only hire for weaknesses, that's great, but you can also hire for strengths as well in your business. You also want to hire out for people that can actually help you do the delivery process, right? So if you're a service-based business, you want someone who can help with client delivery and implementation, so that you're out of client work as much as possible and into the higher level roles and tasks. So for instance, I have the resume business. When I first started, and it made sense because I didn't have the money, right? The budget to hire at the time, but I did all of the resumes. I did all of the customer service, all of those aspects. But then you're capped, you're the bottleneck in your business, and you can only make so much money. So what I had to think about is, as much as I love writing resumes, as much as I know I'm really good at it, right? I can't have an ego enough to think that somebody else can't write a resume. I can't. There are other people who can write resumes, or I can train them. So that's what we did. We went through the process of training people to write resumes. So we have a delivery team that delivers that out. I have a project manager who talks to all of the clients and keeps the projects on track. And she just reports to me and says, hey, these are the projects due. This is this. She is the liaison with the team. I don't speak to the team directly. She does. She can hold the meetings. She can hold the trainings. So then I can do those other tasks that need to, so we can get paid, right?
I think that's the scariest part for entrepreneurs. That piece right there that you just talked about, right? Like, so many times we start believing like, if I don't do it, it won't be good enough or it won't get done. And it's like, but you're not doing it, right? Like, because you can only, like, you're one person and you can only do this.
Yeah.
And not do. So I think that I hope y'all all heard that, wrote it down, recorded it, whatever you had to do, because that was it right there.
Because most of us get into this because we want some sense of freedom, right? Time freedom. But how are you going to get time freedom or flexibility at all if you're doing all of the work? Most likely you're going to be working longer hours as if you're in the 9 to 5 or worse. So we don't want to set ourselves up to be an employee of the business in that way, right? Because that's not really our goal a lot of times in starting this or building a legacy. You can't build a legacy when it's just you doing all of the work. It's just impossible. So you have to relinquish. You have to trust the fact, and that's what goes back to the screening the candidates and hiring, maybe doing the sample test project, right? To make sure that you get people that at least have the basic foundational skill set to do the work. And then you can train to get them up to a level that you feel is excellence for your business, right? So we're always doing trainings, doing feedback meetings with our writers. We always give on the spot feedback in order to hone their skills. And that's what you have to do in business to grow.
Yeah, definitely. Because now you can focus on marketing the business. You can focus on you guys. You've secured some pretty decent contracts over there. Kudos to you for that. But those are the kind of things that you can't do if you're still writing all the resumes.
In the weeds. Yeah, you can't. It's just really you don't have the bandwidth because you're only one person. So you have to relinquish, and so you have to get comfortable with delegating. And then so when you're screening for candidates, you have to check the resume to see if they have taken on projects and assumed like leadership and ownership of those projects a lot of times, because that's what you need in your business. So if it really depends, right? You really have to get a good sense of what you need in your business to move it forward, because that's the whole point of hiring a team, is to move it forward. So another thing is, I want people to really think about, is a VA the best first hire or not? And so
How I
my
feel about
first time around, I thought that was the first hire, and it wasn't. The best first hire really was an operations person or a project manager person. Now, this is not the case for everyone. It depends on your business and what you do. But I didn't need someone to necessarily do busy work. I needed someone to really take something off of my plate, right? Get into that client relation and delivery role, and really be my right hand person. Be someone who I think we're frozen a little bit. Okay, there. Be that person where I could offload, trust them enough to where if I was sick, I wanted to take a break, they could handle and hold things down. And really position someone to actually, when I want to do something else in the business, they could assume my role in the business and handle that. So that was my best first hire, was the operations person. Got all my SOPs together, did all the training and onboarding for our team. That was the best move that I could possibly make for my business to grow. So you want to think about all of that. What do you really need? Right.
I think that is so true. And I think people don't know what they need, right? Because we're solopreneurs. We do all those pieces, right? And we like, it's too much. I'm frustrated, but I don't know what someone else can do. And VAs are everywhere, right? Like everybody's talking about VAs, and they have VAs and VA this and VA that. So you just assume that should be first. And I think even if you hire an operations manager, or you get like a business audit, somebody who can tell you what you need to do, what you need to be able to grow your business. And I think that that's the piece that people don't like. People have coaches, but coaches don't assume the role of running the business, right? And that's what operations managers, and at least for us, that's what the business audit is, right? Like we pretend like this is our business, and we figure out what's missing and who can you hire to do what, when, where, and how. Like you can't even hire a VA to do the busy work if you don't know what the busy work is.
Right. And that's part of the planning. You need to really see, like, what are the core things that you do in your business, right? What are the day-to-day things that you do in your business? And really, what should you not be doing, and what are you going to handle? So take that off the list, and then look at what's left, all the responsibilities that are left, and see, okay, who would be the best hire to handle this? Another thing I found really helpful is to create an organizational chart, even though at the time it's just me. What do I want my team to look like eventually? Right? Make it, because then it shows you who is your next hire. It really does. And then you work your way through that. So creating an organizational chart. So it's really, as a solopreneur, you have to think in terms of being a CEO. I remember you actually doing a Facebook Live about this, about like solopreneur, freelancer, CEO, what that all looks like. And you have to put yourself in the spot of CEO, even if it's just you right now, currently, because you need to be able to see everything on the ground, right? And how you want it to be. And then you can make those decisions on who I should hire first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny you would say that, because last year we did an organizational chart, and we had, like all the people, and then where I didn't have people, I just had like a little question mark over a face, right? But the titles. And so this year, we hired a new CEO, shit consultant. For y'all don't know, that's something we do over here, right? And she forced me to level up the vision, right? And so I'm in the process of doing that. And so for me, what that looked like, and I don't know if y'all can all see this,
Yes.
but I put what I want. I want them to be full-time or part-time, and then how much I want to pay them.
Yep.
Right? Because now I'm not looking at, oh, I need these people. Now I'm looking at how much money do I need to get these people, and what quality of people I want. Because a business manager that you pay, I mean, I think on the low end, I've seen them for like $1,000 a month or something, is drastically different than someone you pay $100,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
What they do becomes drastically different. And so I think that that's part of, like, in this process, what we have to figure out. And even like going through the resume, a resume of someone who I'm going to pay $10, $12 an hour to should look drastically different.
Yes. It better.
Someone I want to pay $100,000 a year to, right? And like, for us, I believe in, bringing people into the team and then growing them up.
There you
right?
go.
So like, I can identify what you're really, really good at, or what skills you have. And you know what, you would be really well over here in this. So how do we grow you into that? And I think sometimes we're just afraid to do those types of things, right? Like, just because you hired them as a VA, they don't have to stay.
In there. And so that's a key point as well when you're reviewing resumes. Yes, can they handle the job that you have at hand right now? Yes, we want to check for that. But when you're comparing candidates, maybe it's someone who has a higher level skill set that you can activate later on in your business. So that might be a good hire because they can stay with you in the long run, right? So they might start off in an administrative capacity or operations coordinator, but maybe then they will move up to be your COO. Maybe they can move up or have a bigger role in your company later on. So you want to hire for that too. The future skill set that you may need also may be a factor.
Definitely. For those of you that are watching, if you have questions, I see some of the comments rolling in, but if you have questions, drop your questions. Like, this is your moment. I promise you she will answer your questions.
I will.
But don't try to inbox her later, because that ain't gonna work. But this is your moment. Live it up in this moment. But I think that those are great tips. Just gonna recap a little bit for those of you who missed the beginning. She really talks about having a hiring process, because when you have a process and you know exactly what you want, it helps you weed through the resumes, right? Because now you know what you're reading for versus that looks good. She talks about having a clear job description that matches what you really want, right? So yes, go to Google and copy, whatever company has a job description that you think looks good, that matches the position that you want to hire for, but add in your company culture, add in your secret sauce, so that the job applicants can add their secret sauce in their resumes to kind of make this marriage happen, right? Because this is kind of like a marriage. And then she talked about having somebody else review the resumes, because let's just be honest, I don't want to read that. Some y'all know y'all don't want to read it either, right? And she said to find someone who is involved in the hiring process, either before in like their past life or whatever that looks like, because they kind of have been trained on some level of what to look for, what not to look, what to red flags, because the red flags is real, right? And just all these different things. And then she talked about having this process afterwards. So you get your top 5 candidates or whatever. And what are you going to do? Like, do you jump straight into the interview? Do you have the assignment, the test assignment? Do you make them take a personality assessment, which I think I'm going to start doing because we all can't be friends.
Right.
Like,
that's a whole different screening tool that you need.
Right. Like, we just need all these screening tools. And she said, a good thing she said after that is, I'm going to read some of these, y'all. She said, don't just look at their title on their resumes, look at what they actually did. Because y'all know, when we had corporate jobs, we was whatever title they gave us, but we did a whole bunch of other stuff. Sometimes it had nothing to do with that title, and sometimes it went way above that title, right? And she said, if you're going to hire your family and friends, your cousin, make sure you take them through the same process as everyone else so that you can really weigh your options, right? Like, keep it business. Yes, you the homie. Yes, you my cousin, but this is business, right? Like, this ain't the potluck. And even then, if you can't make macaroni and cheese, I'm not gonna let you bring it. So it's the same thing, right?
Right.
Hire for your weaknesses and also hire for your strengths, right? Because we need to hire people that can deliver on whatever it is that we're doing. And for service-based businesses, for her as a resume writer, that means that hiring other people to help write these resumes. Yes. For us, that is hiring copywriters, graphic designers, virtual assistants, right? Like, hiring people to do all these little pieces, because if you think that we can manage your social media with just one person, you crazy, because you couldn't do it either, right? Like, it takes a whole group of people, and then everybody got to be in alignment, but that's a whole nother conversation. Right? And for product-based businesses, if you are making, like lotions, body butters, or whatever, do you have the process written down? Can you hire somebody? Because how much skill set does it take to pour an ounce of this, a cup of this, right? Like, it's a recipe. If they can follow the recipe, guess what? Now you're not in there mixing product every day, and you can develop a new product or create a better marketing plan, whatever it takes to grow the business, right? You don't have to put the label on every jar. Somebody else can do that. I promise they can. They can put the products in the box and put they can. I promise
they can.
They can. Right? But I think all of these things are really key points that we just sometimes have to repeat and remind ourselves of, because we just, like I said, somebody out there created this whole solopreneur thing, and it went too far. It went way too far.
Right. It did. Because we then inherit this belief that no one can do it like us, right? And that's why I said the ego comes into it, and that really strips you of the growth that your business can have when you have that ego.
Definitely. Well, I think that you have really given them a great base and great tools to go through weeding out the resumes, because that's really what it is, y'all. We got to weed through the waters, like, for some people, but that's a whole nother conversation. But is there anything else that you want to share with our audience, our entrepreneurs, that they really just need to know about building their team?
Yeah. So I want to just do a caveat to what we talked about with the VAs. Now, if that is your hire, make sure what type of VA you need, because there are so many different types of VAs, some that specialize in tech, some that specialize in social media. And so you want to get a good idea of what you need, right? I always think that maybe a general VA is not the best use of your resources, because we do have limited budgets as a solopreneur. So you want to make really sound and smart decisions when hiring, because it really does, the process and the time you're taking to hire and onboard someone, that's money, right? So if you have to keep reinventing the wheel and going back to get someone else, right? Firing this person, get someone else, then you're wasting your time and your money. So be very cautious with that. Also, the bottom line in reviewing resumes is that who's marketing themselves the best. And that's what you're looking at, right? The resume is a marketing tool. And what they're supposed to do is show up because this is their introduction to you. This is the first time you get to know them. So they need to market themselves. Like we discussed before, if they're not doing it in the resume, how are they going to take ownership of their magic in the business to really help you propel the business forward, right? So you want someone who has that posture of, hey, this is what I'm good at. I know I'm good at this. I know that I can help your company in this way to take you to the next level. And I'm not afraid to say so, because a lot of times as solopreneurs, we need someone to raise their hand and say, hey, I can do that. I can take that on for you. Because we have that problem of delegation in the beginning. So you want someone who knows what they're good at and who's not afraid to raise their hand and say, hey, I can help there. So remember that this is all about who markets themselves the best, who is detailed and doing their due diligence in that hiring process and that resume process, because they'll do the same in your business. All right. And that's important.
Yes, definitely. Sidebar for y'all out there watching. As entrepreneurs, sometimes we need a resume, and we need somebody that can take what we do in our entrepreneurial space and turn it into a resume.
Yes.
DeJuana and her team are the people that you need for that. Like, I'm just going to keep it real, right? Because they know how to make this entrepreneur thing, right? Like all the things that we do in this space, and give you a bomb resume that you can use, whether you're stepping back into corporate, whether you're trying to secure a contract, whatever it is, right? Like they know how to do that. So I just want to share that because I know some of us, let's just keep it real. We need something, right? Until this thing pop off, until we become the overnight success that took 10 years to make, right? But DeJuana, share with everybody where they can connect with you, how they can connect with you, whether they need your services or they know somebody who knows somebody.
All right. So on Facebook, you can find me at GoldenTouch Resumes. You can also go to the website, GoldenTouchResumes.com. And then I'm on Instagram as DeJuana Golden.
I have dropped the website in the chat because I want y'all to click it, to learn more about it, to get the help you need if you need a resume, or you know your cousin needs some help so they can get that job and get out your pocket.
Right.
But y'all know what it is. It is Hershey, me, your girl, Miss Jennifer Pink, and that is DeJuana Golden, who I'm so happy that I had the pleasure to meet at TSP. What was that, like 2 years ago now? 3 years ago?
Ooh, might be 3 years ago.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing. COVID like took a year or two away. Like it just
sure did.
We don't even know how to count it anymore. But I'm so glad that we had the pleasure to connect, to meet, and I love what you do. I can't wait to see what you're doing with your new mom group.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Okay, you saw it? It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait. Because I know that is such your passion.
It is. It really is. So we're taking it to a new level. So we'll talk about it.
I told you, I seen it. I can't wait. I'm ready. Right? And she is like my lock, what do you call it? Like goals, my lock goals. I'm trying to hold on and keep the fight until I can get to her level. Because I think hers are just amazing and beautiful. But I think that's really everything about building a team, and really what to look for in resumes. So thank you for your time this afternoon. I think it's morning still over there in LA.
It is. Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing so much with us. And we thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Don't go far because we will be right back at, I think, 2:30 Eastern with Joy Pittman of HR for the Culture, because we really going to give y'all what y'all need to know about building a team, right? So until then, bye-bye.